Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Dork Squad. I'm joined here by my fellow dorks. We've been going to the movies quite regularly lately to see the newest Dork movies. And so the most recent film we saw was Marvel Studios' The Eternals. Is it Eternals or The Eternals? I don't even know.
I think it's just called Eternals.
Eternals. Yes. Well, so what do we think? I mean, this was, I have to say, even with all the mixed reviews, I guess my two main takeaways are I really liked that it. I'd say the first two-thirds of the movie are something different. I'd say Acts 1 and 2 feel very different, kind of take us into this whole brand new world, which is very cool. And I've said the same thing about like Shang-Chi and Black Panther and Thor. Just I like when it just kind of takes us into this whole new world we're not aware of. And secondly, although it's not my favorite Marvel film by far, I don't know how it's getting worse reviews than Thor: The Dark World and Iron Man 3. That doesn't make any sense to me because I definitely liked it a lot more than those films.
I think it's that by now the expectation is so much higher. You know, when Thor the Dark
Mhm.
World came out, it was admittedly the low point, but it was still early enough in the MCU that you could kind of overlook, oh, well, they're not all going to be winners. I think that they've had such success over and over again that just the expectation was there and it was built up to be like a really big thing. And it just the fact that it was okay translated to we didn't like it.
Yeah.
I think part of the problem for me anyway was that I did like sort of like the mythology it brought to the greater MCU, but by the same token, the Eternals have what, like 10-ish members, and those are a lot of heroes we got to spend a lot of time with to really get it. Like, I know this is like also the case with Guardians of the Galaxy 1, but that was only like five members, and
That's a big
it
difference.
just
Yeah.
it's a big difference.
Guardians introduced its characters better, and James Gunn really knew how to use minimal scenes to get us to really know them. Eternals,
Exactly.
I almost feel like it would work better as a Disney Plus series with like 10
Agreed.
hour-long episodes to really
Yes.
flesh it
Yes,
out.
agreed 100%.
Yeah, I would
I
agree with
I
that.
I think overall, like the size and the scope of the story was so grand and ambitious that it needed more time to kind of bring you into its world and like lay the foundation. Whereas is it like the film was well over 2.5 hours? I think 2:45, and it's like either at that point you have to scale it back a little bit, or in this case I definitely agree, like a Disney Plus series of like 10 episodes an hour each I think would have really been able to flesh out every idea that they wanted to, plus every different time period that could have been showcased to help the immerse us in the world better, as well as also setting up like maybe different storylines and plot lines with each individual character, so that way we kind of learn more about each and every one individually versus just, okay, we have so much time, we kind of have to plow through certain parts. Some characters will get more time, but other characters are going to get a little less, and that kind of unbalances everything.
Can we talk about the weird random fact that number one, apparently DC exists in the Marvel universe
Oh yeah, I
Yes.
know.
because they're like, oh,
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
Superman. So lot to unpack there.
Yeah.
Number two, I know they're like, oh well, we can't get involved with the affairs of humans. That's why we didn't help with Thanos. Firstly, that was a universe thing, not just an Earth thing. Secondly, if the Celestial needed the population to be big enough to like be born, wouldn't eliminating half of them, that's like deviance times a billion.
Yeah,
It was the lamest reason given, and that is a reason why I think a lot of people didn't really like Eternals, because that's all you had.
No, I know the real reason why they didn't help with Thanos. You know what the real reason was? They
What's
hadn't
the real reason?
they hadn't planned out the movie yet. Obviously, that is the real
Well,
reason.
yeah, but
Mhm.
like that, all cinematic universes need to abide by the rules of their own inner logic, and they
Yes.
don't.
Oh boy, we're talking logic now.
It's like in It when they're like Pennywise. All creatures and objects must abide by the rules of the shape they inhabit, and the Eternals is not doing that.
Yeah, no, that I completely agree with that point. I mean, it's that goes for pretty much any media, but like, I think part of the problem here is that like these guys are introduced so late into the MCU. This is what, like phase 4,
Yeah.
and and we've already had what like 3 or 4 major properties come out in phase 4, and they get if they like I guess the Eternals' existence in this I would have forgiven it if it was like in say like early-ish phase 2, where they could at least give it a bit of a better chance to stew, if you will.
I will say, I've been bashing it a lot. To her credit, I really admire and respect director Chloe Zhao's decision to very little of those backgrounds are CGI and green screens. She really pushed for practical locations, practical sets. So, when they're in the jungle or they're on, a volcanic island, a lot of those backgrounds, they're real and you can feel it. So huge respect to her from a technical cinematic standpoint.
And those are some of my favorite scenes too. I thought kind of seeing them throughout history, especially when you go, into the aftermath of the atom bomb dropping. That's a really emotional scene, and that I felt that was maybe the most poignant scene in the movie.
Can I ask who here among us, aside from me, has played Chrono Trigger?
I played a bit of Chrono Trigger.
Okay, Chris.
What
Dave?
is that?
It's a video game.
What is that?
Oh,
You're really.
It's a game you play on your TV. It's not important right now.
Well. Anyway, Chrono Trigger itself is a good chunk of the plot of that game involves. It's a time travel game, and you find out that in the year 1999, a creature known as Lavos bursts through the earth and destroys life as we know it. And as we're watching the Eternals in the theater, I think to myself, with the Celestial about to burst out, this is just Chrono Trigger.
Or the ending of Cabin in the Woods.
I've never seen that, so
I've seen that one myself.
Yeah.
My fellow horror fans here know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
If you're gonna take inspiration from stuff, you might as well take it from stuff that's really good, right? But I don't know, I just felt maybe it was a little too on the nose. But then again, the Eternals dates back to Jack Kirby and all that. So for all I know, Jack Kirby had this all this already written decades before Chrono Trigger was even on the drawing board.
I will say too, really good cast.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yes.
You had a really cool group of people that each one of them. I love Kumail Nanjiani ever since The Big Sick.
Yeah, same here.
And seeing him get to be a superhero, or even I love the story of Salma Hayek saying that when Marvel called her, she thought that they were going to ask her to play somebody's mother, and it's no, you're going to be the superhero.
That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool.
And she hasn't aged in 30 years.
Yo, she and Paul Rudd are
yeah, it's they made
going to the same fountain of youth.
and Patrick Stewart and Patrick Stewart
and Patrick.
Yeah, I loved Kumail's character Kingo. I don't know I apologize if I'm mispronouncing anything, but the Kingo character was great. I just loved just how he was so into himself. But I think my favorite character was probably Karun, so his valet.
Let's be honest, that's the character. We love all the Eternals, and we want to think that we're Icarus, or we want to think that we're any of that. We're that guy.
We're
We're the
all-
guy with the
we're all
Oh,
current.
I fully
with
admit I'm the
no
valet.
powers.
We are the Alfred is in this story.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm definitely the valet. Like the casting as a whole and the overall acting, I think is pretty good and pretty on point. I mean, I think also having everyone of different ethnicities really strengthened the performances.
It is
Although
interesting.
it does beg the question: if they're all Eternals from the same creation, how do they have different accents?
Well,
It's like they had accents that would later develop on Earth thousands of years later.
Well, it's the same thing with,
It-
okay, how does everybody in Guardians of the Galaxy speak English? I don't know.
That's
Well,
another logical fallacy I have.
I guess in this case for the Eternals, like, you know, a Celestial did it.
Celestial did
Well,
it.
if
There
you're
you go.
well, if you remember like when we were getting out of the theater, I described the thing as a diet robotic X-Men. So robots. That's how it was done.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
And you know, it's kind of funny, especially with the one Celestial, like near the end of the film, like I was just when I saw it on the screen, I saw him on the screen, and just like, you know, the various Eternal like, you know, cast members, like, you know, like being summoned by him, I'm thinking to myself, this is the closest thing we have actually gotten to Galactus.
Yes.
Mhm.
I mean, like,
Yeah.
in all honesty, like, this is the most
Mhm.
true, like, you know, like in terms of just size and scale.
And just visually,
Yes,
very
visually.
reminiscent.
Now,
Yes.
to be fair, have you seen all of What If yet?
Yeah.
There's
I
there's a little bit of Galactus in there too, a little bit.
Oh, is there?
Do you know what I'm talking about,
I
Pat?
I have a what if called "What If I Had Time to Watch What If."
Oh wait, you're talking about like yeah, you're talking about the series on Disney Plus,
Yeah.
right? What if?
Mhm.
Okay. Um uh I've seen every episode. I'm just trying to remember like maybe what episode.
There's a moment in one of the last two episodes that is sort of reminiscent of Galactus. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Like his self-awareness. Is that what you're talking about?
I'm talking about when he eats a galaxy.
Oh. Oh, gotcha.
Yeah, that kind of stands out. Anyway, but that aside,
Okay.
check out What If. Great show.
Mhm. Oh yeah,
So
fantastic. And
y-
season 2's coming out later. Next,
enjoyable film. You know, it does kind of dissolve into the throwing neon lasers at each other at the end.
It's
And
visually,
it has
it's
to.
very Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Actually,
Not
that's a
that
good
there's
analogy.
anything wrong
Yeah.
with that. I was thinking that.
Mhm.
and they kind of made. I'm still not sure how I feel about like Icarus randomly deciding like, oh, I have to do this at the. It felt like.
Don't you get it? Because he flew too close to the sun.
And I'm saying that this movie's symbolism is flying too close to the sun.
I know.
And
Yeah.
I'm saying that maybe if that's what he was going to do, Richard Madden should have just stayed dead after the Red Wedding. That's all I'm saying.
No, Dave, I totally agree. When I saw that happen, I'm like, really? He's just going to go into the sun? Like really? Like we're doing that? Okay. Like it just,
You know, there's a
be
great
more on the nose.
there's a great quote by Stanley Kubrick years ago when he was accepting this award, and he said, "People always talk about the myth of Icarus as if, you know, the moral of the story is, you know, don't fly too close to the sun." And he says, "But I always just wondered, why not just build better wings?"
Hmm.
But I feel like that's a very Icarus thing to think.
Yeah. And very apropos you say that, because I know Stanley Kubrick, Stanley Kubrick's work of 2001: A Space Odyssey was a big influence on Jack Kirby's work as well, especially when it came to the sci-fi aspect.
Good point.
Oh, definitely, with like the
Mhm.
planet eating and the sort of mixing deep space with like philosophy.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a very funny feeling like that was what helped to bring the Eternals to life originally in the comics.
Except that 2001 was still a shorter movie than Eternals.
Yes.
Was it? How long was 2001?
They're both. I'm just telling a joke, but I'm pretty sure.
Clearly.
I mean, I would believe you with the this movie was like 2.5 hours long.
All right. 2000. It is shorter. 2001. It clocks in at 2 hours 19 minutes. Eternals clocks in at 2 hours 37 minutes. So yeah, it's 20 minutes shorter.
Oh wow, how about
So
that?
my joke is funny and accurate.
Well, there we go. We got Dave's daily validation. So it's funny. So the ending, so it's a Marvel movie. We're always waiting till the end to kind of see what's going on. And that post-credit scene so it's the boyfriend of, I can't even remember everyone's name.
I think it was
Cersei. Dale, played by Kit Harington, a.k.a. Jon Snow.
Yeah, Jon Snow.
Who in Game of Thrones, Kit Harington did not like Cersei very much, but that's a whole other thing.
Yes.
You know nothing, Dale.
Exactly. Except what this sword is, which I think they're going. I heard that was Blade's voice at the end.
Yes.
Mahershala Ali as Blade, which, as a horror fan, very excited to see what Marvel does with him.
Well, what's funny is we're sitting there in the audience, and John and Patrick remember this, and so
yeah.
he's opening a box that to me was reminiscent of the Ten Rings. I thought, like, is this a connection to the Ten Rings that we just saw? Like, what is that connection? And like the audience is just, you could tell like nobody knows what it is, and the guy behind us is like, guys, he's the Black Knight, and we're all like, oh. So it's kind of a nice, nice nerd moment, helping each other out.
And then my immediate thought was, who's the Black Knight? The only one I'm aware of is in Monty Python and the Holy Grail.
Right.
so wait, exactly. That's your biggest takeaway from the post credits? Not that Harry Styles is brothers with Josh Brolin?
Oh yeah, I don't know. Oh, I had an issue with that. So first of all, if Thanos is like the worst person in the universe, like he's ticked everybody off, right? He made half the people disappear. Why would his brother be introducing himself as the brother of Thanos? Like, why would you, if you were associated with a genocidal maniac, why would you say?
Well, think about it. It's sort of like, nobody wants to be connected to O.J. Simpson, but he's still famous. So, like, if you were, it might help you get a table at a restaurant.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Actually, something that I didn't realize till later, but like something that one thing that kind of stuck out for me in that particular post-credit scene was that that little dwarf guy that introduced
Pip the Troll.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, his CGI work was weird, man. It was like I read.
I was not a fan.
Well, it's directly from the comics. I mean,
I'd rather just see Patton Oswalt in troll makeup.
I read somewhere that Pip the Troll looks like he was ripped out of like a CG scene in an early 2000s movie, and I didn't pick up at the time, but when I read that, I thought, that's it. That's why. That's what was off about that scene for me.
He looked like he was ripped from a cheap CGI Lucky Charms commercial.
Yeah, I agree.
He's the Lucky Charms mascot's drunk cousin.
Yeah. Well, hey guys, we gotta wrap this up. So, any final thoughts on the Eternals? And I know a lot of big Marvel stuff happening this weekend and the next month. So we will do another video at some point, kind of addressing kind of where we're at the end of 2021 with Marvel and kind of where we're going.
There's been a lot happening.
There's been a lot happening.
Yeah, definitely.
So we'll get into that.
Definitely.
But final thoughts on Eternals. I enjoyed it quite a bit. I think it's worth watching. It's definitely not. Of the three Marvel movies this year, I have a feeling it's going to be my least favorite, but I'm glad I saw it. I thought, I think especially the performances were really the strongest part, really carried it.
Yeah, overall, I thought it was very interesting as well. Overall good. I did feel that the scope once again was a little like grander than I think they would have wanted it to be. Like I said, I still think it could. I think it may have. I'll just flat out say it. I just think it would have been better as a Disney Plus series. But overall, I enjoyed it. But I'm looking more forward to like what's going to happen next, especially with the Black Knight and Star Fox and how they're going to be tied in with the main Marvel MCU. And I'm genuinely curious like what's going to happen, especially the team up with the Black Knight and Blade. That's going to be fascinating. I'm really looking forward to that.
You got to get Morbius in there.
Oh yeah. I, you know what? I bet you there will be a tie-in with that too. There's
There's
got to
got
be a
to
tie.
be,
Oh, probably like I'm thinking post credits. That's what I'm
probably.
thinking.
So, I mean, Eternals. It definitely wasn't as bad. Yeah, it didn't live up to expectations, which in terms of Rotten Tomatoes, which I'm not a fan of their all or nothing system anyway. It wasn't as bad as they rank it out to be.
Mm,
At the same time, I feel like Eternals could have been great, and it settled for being okay.
I
yeah.
and I
Well shot, well made, but the stories where it really suffered.
and I
Agreed.
and I completely agree. I believe I gave this one a 5 out of 10. At the end of the day, it's just too bloated for its own good, for lack of a better term. And if you want to experience something with a somewhat similar plot, go play Chrono Trigger. It's a great game.
Do you work for Squaresoft, John?
No, I don't.
Okay, you sure?
No. He
You,
works. No, he works for
I
Square Enix.
swear, sometimes he sounds like, remember in the Truman Show when his wife would randomly do like advertising for him? That's what he said.
Yeah.
No,
We ought
if
to
I
go
was
buy one of those new shovels, the best shovels in town, Truman. And he's
Who are
like,
you
No, if I-
talking
what are you
to?
talking?
no, if I
Oh
I would
yeah.
not I would not be a corporate shill for Square Enix. I would be a corporate shill for Namco Bandai, so I could hawk the Tales series.
Mm.
You're a
And
man.
I'll be a corporate shell for whoever gives me money.
There
It's
we
a-
go. Wow, wow. So much virtue.
I just reminded of that one scene in one of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man movies with J. Jonah Jameson's like that's not defamation. Defamation is spoken. In print, it's libel.
Yes, classic. So we're going to wrap it up, folks, but I do want to tell you all at home to check out our Facebook group, Dork Daily Community. Also, please check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Dork Daily, if you'd like us to do this more often. We need your support, so please consider checking that out. Check out our other shows, Dunkel Vision, Philly Film Brothers, and whatever the heck is going on in the Dork world.
Or if you don't like us, pay us to go away.
Sure.
That should be
Whatever.
a tier level on the Patreon. For this much a month, we leave you alone.
Leave you alone, yeah. Yes.
It'll be the most popular one.
I'm going to try to plug your channel. So check out Halloween Year Round this week. We are going to be on there this week at some point. I don't know exactly when. Probably by the weekend. To talk about
Yeah, probably within about a week or two. To talk about the new Ghostbusters Afterlife. It's coming out.
Yeah, so we're looking forward to that. We're going to check that
out.
Thank you,
We're
John.
going to have to pay for that.
I'm
so
very
we'll
much
see you
looking
on-
forward to it.
We'll see you on Halloween Year Round. And, of course, check back here. We got plenty more coverage coming of our time at Rhode Island Comic Con 2021. Thanks for joining us, the Dork Squad. We will see you next time.